section, we focus very specifically on answering questions from you. So let's go ahead and go to the floor. We had a question specifically from a gentleman named Carlos. He's an Impact Windows installer in Northern Florida. He asks, related to branding, if I'm starting a new business, where should I start? A logo, a mission statement. I want to do this right. So this ties in perfectly to what we're talking about, Carlos. And I'd like to go ahead and see if we can get some feedback for you from the experts here. Let's start with you, Nicole. Do you have any advice for Carlos on where a good starting point would be for this
Yeah.
new entrepreneur?
So I would say before you even think about a logo design, you have to understand who do you want to be known as? Who do you want to be known as? Think about that. That's the first question you should ask. Why do I exist as a company? There's an entire brand framework that asks these deep, pointed questions that can help you derive your mission and values, which then lead to creating brand assets and logos and things like that. I know Rosabelle has a much better understanding of this. Would you mind giving a little bit more insight into that framework and kind of the
Of
questions that are
course.
entailed? Yeah.
Yes, of course, Nicole. So yes, as Nicole was saying, we start out with asking many questions, and that's the starting point that um, we place on our clients when they're coming in. They're asking, Carlos, this is where you want to start. You want to ask those questions, and as part of the framework that Nicole's mentioning, we take those questions, and from that, asking a lot of why questions. Why are we doing this? Why do I exist? Why am I creating this company? What does this mean to me? Why am I passionate about? What am I really good at? So with all these questions, we build a framework that will then be used to guide any type of visual or verbal assets that are then created for your brand. So in this framework, we touch on developing a narrative or your story. We define your belief or your value. What is it that we really believe? Why are we really doing this? We work on strategy for your brand. So that's part of branding. Branding is a process. For that, we have to develop a strategy. So who's our target, right? The strategy piece will dig into who's our target. We'll look at our competitors. Again, something very important about competitors is the main point to look at your competitors is to just have an understanding of the market and what's out there. But again, the core of your business and what sets you apart comes from you. So anything that you develop needs to come out of, how can I be better? How can I improve? And not really guided by what your competitors are doing. I wanted to plug that in there because a
Yeah,
lot of
good
us
point.
get confused that we make decisions based on what our competitors are doing. But the competitors are doing based on their strength. You need to be working based on your strengths. So very important there. So we'll do that as part of strategy. As part of the framework, then comes the promise, right? What is the value that we're offering our customer? What are we promising a customer when they choose us, or our employees, or anyone, or our partners, anyone that engages with the brand? What is the promise that we're making to them when they choose us versus choosing someone else?
Yeah.
And then from that, we'll end with the attributes, 4 to 6 key characteristics that are going to define everything that you do. And that turns into, from those 3 to 4 characteristics, we'll start developing these pieces, the visual stuff. So the logo, things that you probably know of, the logo, the website, what colors am I using? What font am I using? And then what tagline do I want to go with? So from that, all the pieces come. But we need to first do the work, of answering those questions.
And thinking about this, Rosabelle, trying to be authentic, something we talked about. It's okay, especially for service companies, to not all be serious, right? Can't some of your characteristics be a little humorous, a little edgy, maybe a little bit more slanted towards the non-traditional?
Of course, of course. We're here. So companies are made of people.
Mhm.
We're all people here. We're all humans. So, as humans, we work based on emotions, characteristics, personality. So a brand, your brand is what we're defining here. Your brand essence is your personality, right? So you can decide, whether you want to be, very formal, very, very corporate, or you can decide that you want to be friendly and approachable and fun and bubbly. There's all kinds of personality out there. So that means that in your, when you're defining your brand or the kind of person you are, um, that's part of it. That's what we're doing here. And then you're going to, that's based on what kind of people you want to attract. Some people some people go for things that are more serious, and some like to be more lighthearted. So that's why you have to do this work of defining who you want to be, because the key thing here is that for you to have a long-lasting brand, we have to have consistency. So if you decide, and this comes from the core team, that once you're the owner of the company or the partners, right? It's based on who they are, right? What's their personality? That's really the kind of company that then you should build, because you want to have fun doing it. You want to be involved in it. It's going to be something that's going to take up 20 pretty much all your time. So it needs to
Yeah.
be something that connects with you, right?
Sure.
So it's based on that. And but we need consistency, right? You don't want to say, oh, we're going to be all serious, and then the next day say, oh no, we're more lighthearted, and then come back to the serious, because then people get confused and they don't know what you are. So
Sure.
then now you're throwing people off. So consistency, that's why we work on brand, because we need to maintain consistency. That's how we build a brand.
Makes sense.
So Juan, as you can see, it is a bit more complex than just laying out a
Yeah.
logo.
Yes.
There's more to it.
Very complex.
But as Rosabelle and Nicole both mentioned, there's like a 6-step process, and there's obviously a lot to those 6 steps that you have to go through, and it's worth going through, as we mentioned in the first part. But starting at square one and slowly building out and making sure that you're answering those critical questions about your identity can't be understated. And we have a special offer here at the end of this episode for those of you that are joining in, either live or on demand. Stick around to the end. We have a free resource for you to help you actually achieve that, to get started on a full branding process. So one, hopefully we were able to help you get started with building that identity for your Impact Windows business. Let's get ahead and go to question number 2, ladies. Number 2 comes from Stan. Stan is a plumber, and he said, I just started a plumbing business. We're getting some new entrepreneurs here today on the show. I have a logo and a website. Okay, great. I'm struggling with developing a mission and a vision statement. Everything I come up with sounds so corporate. Any ideas to help me come up with something more authentic? Ooh, boy, that's a tough one, Stan. And as we talked about, being yourself, so important. Rosabelle, why don't we go and start with you? How can you capture an original, authentic voice for your brand?
Yeah, so this is a great question, Stan, and it may seem a little bit daunting or difficult, but it goes in line with everything we have been talking about. And so being authentic means being who you are. So like I just kind of touched on this a little bit in the previous question. It starts with who you are, right? So for you to be authentic, in how you present your brand, it has to come from you. So what are the things that you care about? If you feel like some of the things out there are too corporate, then maybe that's not the angle for you, because you want to be a little more lighter when it comes to things, or you want to approach things have a more friendlier approach. And if that's what you define that it is what you want to stick with, then that's what you can develop as part of developing your statements and the messaging that comes across. And to do that, we go back to working on the framework, right? So you must be clear on who you want to be, what you want to be for others, and then from there comes your vision and your mission. And if you do the work, if you answer the question, honestly, and this is something, sometimes this is why we help our clients, or clients come to us, because they know what they have an understanding of what they want. They can express that what they don't want, but they don't always are able to articulate
Mhm.
Right.
The right message, or really find that one statement that really kind of encapsulates everything that they're trying to say. So that's
Mhm.
why you come to us, and we help you find that right message and articulate it in the best way, in the most authentic way that's authentic to you and what you stand for.
Great points, Rosabelle. Yes, Stan, listen, it really comes down to being yourself, being authentic, but there's a process to help you discover that. And certainly Rizen's done it for many home services companies. We have a tool that can help you get started. If you stick with us to the end, a free resource that can get you on that road. But don't think of it as something that happens overnight or happens, in a 5-second span. It has to be something that's methodical that you go through.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think we can help you with. So to Carlos and Stan, thank you for your questions. We really appreciate the feedback. We enjoy hearing from you. If you have questions that you want to submit to us to answer in future episodes, you can reach us at ask@gorizen.com. We will take your questions and we will fit them into a future episode that specifically answers what you need help with. And we are all about being here for you. And again, being authentic and responding to your specific needs.